All right, we're going to do some diodes here, and this is for the steering motor. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a power and a ground. So one diode has to go off of this one and one diode has to go off of that one. So we'll show you how to make those connections. I have a little piece of paper here that shows you kind of what those connections look like. So essentially you have one wire from the diode to the motor and then the other wire going to the ESC. And this is going to stop the rotation. So when this pivots, where's my pivot? Right here. When this spins, right, these are the cylinders, right? They do this. So when the back of this makes contact with this switch, it stops. So it doesn't allow this to turn anymore because we don't want it to go more than the limit. So it'll make a little click. Right, that's when we know it's gone far enough. And then if we push it in the opposite direction, it'll go until it here's a click on the opposite side. So that's what we're going to do here is we're going to get the diodes and the electronics set up so it matches this diagram here. Now your diodes, they do have a direction. There's a little gray strip on one side of the diode that has to follow this here. So the gray strip will be on the side of the motor wire, not the ESC wire. And I'll show you what it all looks like when we're all done. So let's do some soldering. Okay, so now we'll solder this diode on. You're gonna wanna get this, put some flux on there to make sure it has a good connection. Remember, the silver tip part has to face the left side. Notice the pressure point is up there. So you're gonna get some solder. Solder that on, get the other one on there, solder that on. And then we can trim these end pieces off. So do that twice with the same direction, okay? Just make sure that this is pointing up that way and the silver piece is pointing to the short end of this. Do that 2 times. Now that you've soldered on the diode, we're gonna solder the ESC lead. So I have an ESC here. This is a FingerTech ESC, small, compact, does a great job on these smaller motors. You're gonna grab one of the wires to go to the motor. Now remember, there's 2 sides to this wire. The red and black need to go to a power source. This blue and purple will go to the diodes, which will then send power to the motor. So we're going to solder this onto the side that's poking up like that. Add it on here, on one. Take that out. Bring in the other one. Solder this one on as well. And there we go. And that's it for this side. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to get a wire from here and here to the motor, which is this guy. So these other 2 ends will go to the motor ends, and then we'll test it out and see how it works. Now let's make the connection to the motors. We'll do one red and one black just for visibility. There we go. And then we'll get this other one, actually swap these out. Then make this one, and then we'll tie it into the motor. There we go. Now these 2 will go to the motors. Which direction doesn't really matter right now because we can always reverse it on the controller. But for now, we just want to get this set up this way, and then we're going to install everything now and make the final soldering connections. Okay, now looking into the chassis, we have the limit switches installed. Notice that the trigger here is on the inside, so the click is on this side, not on the outside. And the reason we want that is because you can see it's going to make contact with this. So it's going to come in, and when this turns, it's going to click this way. If we have it on the outside, it may not click and slide off of it, not make good contact. So we want it to come in and click like this. So as you can see down there, it'll click like that. We'll install this after. But for now, 4 of these M2 by 12s. Go in and snug these down. And then we'll run the wires after to the side, organize everything nicely. Again, these are going to go to the back of the motor. Okay, so after installing the limit switches the way I had shown in the previous clip, in this particular image, I show you how I had to change it because they were reversed. So I had to flip the limit switch. Still, all the connections were correct, but I just had to flip them. So when you look at this now, you'll see that the way the wiring is here is how it should be, and reference the way the motor was connected, where the red wire and where the black wire went to the motor, because that's important. That'll help you with this. If it doesn't work because of the way you connected it, remember, you'll just have to probably flip these around and you'll eventually get it. So before you put them in, just test them. But this is what I have based on the way I showed in the instructions of this video. The way they look in this image is how yours should look. The gray diode, or the gray on the diode, is facing out, and the power wires are on the outsides, and then the ESC wires are going to each particular limit switch. Reference the colors here so that you can understand when you're doing yours. And yeah, it should work. All right, next we're going to attach this plate to the motor. Now I have here, which is a 37 mil motor. It's a 12 volts by 5 RPMs. You can do the 3 RPMs if you want. It's a little bit slower. But I feel like if I go with the 5 RPMs, I can adjust the speed. Whereas if I'm at 3 RPMs and I want it to turn quicker, I can't ramp it up. So this has enough torque for this thing to turn. So I'm not concerned about that. So we're going to add these screws here. These are M3 by, I would say, 8s. And they're going to go inside 4 of these, attach the plate. Now, the one you see here looks like I've been hacking it up because this is a test piece. And the final one will have this ring here removed and these side walls pushed out a little bit, so we can fit the collar for the hub, the steering hub. And then that way we can connect that. Now, this piece is next. So we have here some M4 by 8s that are going to go in, 4 of those. And this is a 6 mil hub, okay? Because it just, these shafts here on these motors, the more torque, the bigger the center pin here. So that's why we've done that. And then here it's some M3 by 10, 12. Put a little bit of Loctite if you're not using lock nuts, and just a regular nut, just so that it doesn't back out, because they will. And then this will fit on this way on here. And then you're gonna tighten the grub screw, or the set screw. Goes in like that. This is how it should look. And the set screw is right here on mine, so I'll lift it just a little bit. It's not completely against, tighten it down. And there you go. Your steering setup is ready to go into the machine. And if we pan up, there's our machine. There's these 4 holes. You're going to use screws that are M3 by, I had them here, M3 by 16, I believe. And those are going to go down inside here. And we'll place this inside. Now for the pivot, you're going to have M3 by, I'll try to remember these ones. M3 by 12s, I believe. Let's just get a good measurement here. M3 by 12s. Okay, 2 M3 by 12s for the pivot area here. So these guys will go in, and then M3 on top by 12. There you go. And then just screw this in. Now, hopefully we can see that once we have everything lined up and good to go, we'll test the motor and make sure that it does trigger those limit switches, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, now let's get the motor soldered up. There we go. And this one. All right, so we have positive, negative connected. Now we just need to get our power to the receiver, or sorry, not the receiver, but the ESC needs to connect to the receiver. And we'll pick channel 2. Why not? That's where we're going. And then this is going to go to our power source, our battery. I'm using one of these. It's not small and nice, but it's going to do the job. I'll throw it in here along with the Bear sound system. The reason why is because I think, let's just put it on the outside. I don't have any other motors to connect for now. If we want accessories, we can do accessories like a quick hitch, sorry, a pivot connect on the front bucket. So we'll do that with another ESC running to the front. But essentially, we've got the ESC now connected to the receiver. The receiver is now going to connect and tell this steering what to do. So let's try it. Okay, one thing that you may run into a little bit of trouble and you're wondering why it's not working. If you start turning left and it keeps going left and it doesn't stop, then what happens is the limit switch is on the wrong side. It should be on the other side. You'd have to flip it because you still need the same orientation of the switch. And you take the other one, put it on the other side, upside down, flip it, orientation of the switch. If everything is done correctly, if you turn left and it goes right, well then just do a reverse on your controller. But if not, it should turn left and it stops. You hear the switch click. And there you go. If this is too fast, you can go into your endpoints and reduce them so that it slows the motors down. But essentially, there we go. Full steering. That's how you set it up. Any questions? Send me a message.